Welcome to the Stories We Share podcast. On this podcast, you'll hear stories from several different people who are all following Jesus and the ways that he is working in each one of their lives. You'll hear stories of heartbreak, you'll hear stories of triumph and victory. In all of it, God is working out each one of our stories to show his goodness, his faithfulness, and his love. Our prayer is that you will find hope in the stories we share.
Church family, I want to welcome you to our monthly podcast, the Stories Podcast, a podcast we started about 6 months ago, capturing stories in our community of God's faithfulness, God's goodness through good times and through hard times, because there's something special, as Coach and I just shared, about connecting with people's stories. And I love that you get to hear today from a guy that I've gotten to know well over the last 10 years and has made a huge influence in our community. Head coach of the Dayton Flyers, retired now, Coach Chamberlain. I want to share just a couple things about him. He's a native of Springfield, Ohio, and a 1975 graduate of Springfield North High School. Coach Chamberlain is a 3-time All-City selection in Springfield and the Player of the Year his senior year. He holds the UD football records for tackles in career and single season, so get out of his way. In 1978, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1989. Coach Chamberlain was the head coach at UD for 14 years, although he spent 46 seasons with the team on the sidelines as a player, an assistant coach, and a head coach. And he's been a part of more UD success than any other player or coach in that football program's history, and I would say in all of history. I don't know who's going to beat that record. A 1980 UD graduate. We have many UD graduates here at our church with a degree in health and physical education, and he earned his master's degree in counseling education at UD in 1982. Rick and his wife, Jayne, live in Kedrick. They have 2 sons, Jason and Tyler, who are both Flyer graduates as well. Coach, I remember we moved back, Natalie and I, in 2013. It would have been December-ish, from Orlando back to Florida, up here, back to Dayton. That's from Dayton, and I'm from Indiana. And I remember, I don't know if I was driving to Centerville from like North Dayton and Vandalia area, and you were on the radio for a commercial. And to this day, I don't even know what it was totally for, but it was a connection with Athletes in Action. And so with that connection, I just had reached out on a whim and said, I think through email to you and obviously playing small college football and just being around the sport, I have a love for the sport, but also a love for Christ, and asked you if you guys had a chaplain, and you had just told me, hey, our chaplain just stepped out, come and meet me, and the rest was history. About 10 years later, from 2013 to 2023, I was able to be the UD football chaplain on those Saturday morning chapels, and so thankful for that experience to this day. Still some of the coaches that I stay in contact with and some of the players, and it was a huge blessing to me during that time. But Coach, thanks for getting on here today, and I'm excited for our church and for the people who listen to this podcast to hear a little bit of your story. Many got to hear if they came to our Super Bowl breakfast last year. You came and shared a little bit. But I want to just capture your story a little bit today and have you share what would it have been like to be following Coach Rick Chamberlain around as a youngster in Springfield growing up, and a little bit about your family.
Sure. And Kedrick, before I even begin, you talked about being a part of our program for those 10 years, and you were a big part of that. And the connections you made with our players and the coaches on the staff during that time, you were a blessing to us. And I firmly believe the success that we enjoyed during those 10 years, you were a big part of that.
Well,
and I thank you for that. I really do, Kedrick. But as you were saying, I grew up in Springfield, Ohio, which isn't very far from here. Now, people tell me when they hear my twang here, they wonder if I was from Kentucky or even further south, but I'm from Springfield, Ohio.
There you go.
And growing up, Kedrick, I was a very blessed young man, loving family. And I know it was loving because I'm an adopted child. And I was not only myself, but my brother and sister who are younger than I. All 3 of us were adopted, and we knew we were adopted. But I tell you, the love was strong there in our family from our parents there. Even though we didn't look a thing alike, we were still a strong.
Where were you at in the order with your siblings then?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
I was the first.
You're the boss then.
And the way I look at it, Kedrick, I must not have scared my parents off from adopting other children then.
That is a good sign. You're right.
If they survived me, I guess they thought we can handle some more.
That's funny. That's right.
It was a wonderful experience, and I love my brother and sister, and we've had great times growing up together. But growing up, like I said, in a very blue-collar, loving family, and about the age of 10 is when I found out I enjoyed football. I really did. I played all the sports, but football was the one that I really gravitated to, Kedrick. And I stayed in it throughout the junior high school years, and fortunate enough that I was successful enough in high school that Ron Marcinak, who was the head football coach at Dayton in the 70s, offered me a scholarship and an opportunity to come to the University of Dayton and to be a student athlete there. And I am so grateful to Coach Marcinak. We've stayed in touch. Unfortunately, he's passed away about 3 years ago, but we stayed in touch, and that he gave me that opportunity. And I look back, Kedrick, and just from that commitment of going to the University of Dayton, how my life took off from there, Kedrick. And being at Dayton then and having success and enjoying my time there and the friendships and relationships I made. And then Rick Carter and Mike Kelly came in and really built a foundation for the culture and the winning tradition. And I was very
did you have the same coach all 4 of your years? Was he your coach all your?
Ron Marcinak was my coach for 2 years.
Okay.
And then it was about that time, Kedrick, that Dayton had made the decision that they were not going to be able to continue as a Division I football program.
Okay.
And the big thing was they're going to have to do away with scholarships.
All right.
Not give out anymore. Now, I was very fortunate. People that were on scholarship got to keep their scholarship to finish out.
Good.
So that was 2 years for me, my junior and senior year. My junior year, Kedrick, is when Rick Carter came in as the head coach, and Mike Kelly came in as the defensive coordinator. He was actually my position coach as a linebacker also.
Very good.
And as I said, they came in, they really turned the program around. And those 2 years that I was still playing, we had a lot of success. We're still playing the same people that we were playing the 2 years because we had contracts, and that's why we were playing Iowa State and Miami and Eastern Kentucky, and we were winning. Winning against those people. And so,
what was the temperature at that point? Was there maybe a sadness that wasn't going to carry on with D1, or a frustration with some of the players? I mean, to come and know that you're doing that, and then to go to the 1AA or whatever level they ended up next.
And what we were going to be going to next was the Division III classification.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yes, because being a non-scholarship, we fit those credentials there, those rules there. And that's why they brought Rick Carter in and Mike Kelly from Hanover College, which was a Division III school.
Yep.
And so they were kind of going to shape the program. And I tell you, there was probably some apprehension from alumni a lot about not being Division I. But I tell you, that 1977 season, we finished 8-3. And as I said, we're playing the same people we had been playing for years, and we were winning. We lost to Iowa State by 3 points.
Wow.
But other people, we were winning. And all at once, people like being a part of a winner, Kedrick.
Exactly. You got that right.
They do.
No matter what level you want to win.
Yes, that people really enjoy being around a winner. And then again, in 79, we made the playoffs for the first time ever. And unfortunately, we got beat But it set the tone.
That's right.
And then the program just took off from there. National championships and national runner-up. And fortunately, I got to still be a part of that. I tell you, God has blessed me with just the opportunities. I mean, I look back and I know people, they talk about how God has helped them when they were down and out and that life was miserable for them when they gave their heart to the Lord. I tell people, I said, I was fine. I was happy. I was living a good life. I really was. I was coaching at the age of 22 in college. 22.
That's a gift.
College. I was married. We had our first child, a boy born on Father's Day. So how much better could that get? But I needed more in my life. I was a sinner, and I'm so thankful God didn't give up on me. And so I gave my heart to the Lord there in 1981. 82, I should say, and never looked back.
Wow. Who would have been, Coach, some of the people that were influential for that to take place in your life? Was there other coaches, or was it a church or a pastor?
I grew up in the church.
Sure.
Like a lot of people would have said. My mother.
What denomination were you part of back in
that time? It was the Pilgrim Holiness Church, which is a part of the Wesleyan Church now.
Okay. Sure.
And went to church with Mom on Sunday school and Sunday evening and Wednesday service. Did that all, but I went away and when I became that college student and so forth, and never denied about church and God, but it was just it wasn't me. It wasn't me. But then, so the people of that church that I grew up with, they were genuine. I could tell. They loved the Lord, and it wasn't for show. There was a deep-hearted affection for God. And some of the best people I've ever been around, the pastor of the church and other people. Well, then my wife and I, after being married and had a child, we started attending a Wesleyan church in Miamisburg. And the pastor there, Schuler, and his family, the congregation, I really just kind of connected with them again because they reminded me of the church I grew up in. And just from their influence and just the relationships with them, one Sunday morning, I knew it was needed for me to give my heart to the Lord.
Wow.
And then they were my mentors. They were, even though I was 24 years old, they were my mentors, and they helped me grow as a Christian, Kedrick.
That's huge.
From that point on.
You know, one of the things I caught in your story is, and I think it's so relevant today, is you were around people that were real and authentic. And I feel like the generation today that's in college can see right through phoniness and fake, you know, and they want. And so what that tells me is believers, like, to be who we say we are, just to be authentic and be us and be real. If we want to reach people for Christ, we're not going to do it with the lights and the smoke and the big stage and the fancy. It's going to be, are you real? Are you somebody I can trust? And are you authentic? And it's even, you're speaking about that from years ago, that you experienced that at your church in Springfield. That's powerful.
And you're so true, Kedrick. They're about young people. I relate this back to coaching. You've got to be, and I would tell my staff that you've got to be real with them. You got to be honest with them. You got to be authentic, and you got to be the same all the time. You can't be one thing out on the field, another thing in your personal life and in the office. You got to be genuine, because they'll see right through you. As you said, if you're blowing smoke at them, it's not going to connect.
That's right. All. That's so good. Those early years of, did your wife grow up the Wesleyan movement as well, or did you guys both find that together?
She grew up in a Methodist church.
Oh, okay.
In West Carrollton. She's a local girl.
Okay.
And so she grew up in the church, but again, her background, her family wasn't that connected to the church.
Sure.
And so she just told me it was a little different when we got married, and she would go with me when we'd go up to Springfield to visit and things, and she'd go to church. Because Mom, when we'd visit Mom, we had to go to church. Right. Even though I was 20-something, I still had to go to church if I was there.
That's right. That's a good mom.
And so that was a little different. But then after we got married and we started attending the Miamisburg church, and then she gave her heart to the Lord the very same day I did, Kedrick, which made that special.
Yes.
And she's been a part of the church. She sings. She plays the piano.
Wow.
She's a lot more talented than me. I can blow whistles and yell at people, but she has that creative gifts.
That's great.
So it's been a wonderful life for us as a married couple.
Yeah.
For now it's going on 45 years that we've been married.
Man, 45 years. Not only she with you, but putting up with a football coach. The life of a football coach for 45 years.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
That's what I tell people. I said it was amazing that she kept up with me and all that, because we had 2 boys, 4 years apart, and she did a great job with them, as I tell people. And I would tell individuals that sometimes I think during the football season, she probably thought I cared more about the university than her. But I would tell her, no, you're still number one. Even though I got to spend a lot of time there, she's still number one in my life.
Yeah, there is a lot of sacrifice, and for sure. So I don't think I ever asked you, did you guys meet at UD, or where did you?
We did, through mutual friends. It was kind of, I was at a college party.
Okay.
At our house when we grew up, when I was my senior year at Dayton, before this. It was in August, before the season was starting, and we actually had a party at our house. A lot of people were there, and through mutual friends, they brought her. Yeah. And I met her that night on the porch of our house, and that's kind of how we started dating and so forth, and we were together ever since that August night in 1978.
Wow. Hey, so when you this for our listeners, when you graduated from UD, I mean, was there a piece of you that thought, hey, I'm not sure what's next. I feel like coaching could be in my wheelhouse, but what brought about you then staying at UD?
Yeah. How it all worked, like most football players in college, you feel like you could be a pro. Yeah. I could be in the NFL. And I did have testing and so forth from some pro teams, had try out with the Canadian team, the Toronto Argonauts there, but it didn't work out. So I thought, well, I'll go into coaching. Mm-hmm. And so I actually interviewed with Howard Sales, longtime head coach at Oakwood High School. Okay. I was finishing up my degree. I had to come back a semester to do my student teaching, and I had used up all my eligibility. So I met with Howard. Well, then a few days later, Rick Carter called me and said they had lost a coach, had gone on to another place, and they were looking at their staff and thought, well, Rick Chamberlain could coach our linebackers as a GA, because they were going to shuffle some people around. And he asked me, he said, would you be interested in coaching linebackers at Dayton as a GA? And it took me probably about 5 minutes to think about it. And I said, absolutely, Coach, because I could see Coach Carter and Coach Kelly, what they were doing at Dayton. Yes. And I really wanted to continue in that. I had 2 years under them there. And I really thought, yes, let me go, be a part of them, learn under them, and then whatever follows. Maybe I'm in high school as a coach, or maybe I can find another place after being a GA, be a full-time coach, some college there. So it's just one of those special moments of just the timing and everything about the opening at UD.
Yes, God has those providential moments that he intersects our life with. His timing's always perfect. It doesn't feel like it sometimes, but man, his timing is always. What would be, one of the things I'm always interested in is people that find themselves in these leadership positions and coaching and leading a pretty big organization. They usually had some guys before them that they looked at and they thought, man, these are things that I want to embody, as a coach. What were those things from your previous Coach Kelly or another coach that this is just a no-brainer? This must be a part of the atmosphere of any program I'm in charge of.
I tell you, number one, what I learned, organization. You got to be organized, right down to the smallest details. And that's what our program is still about with Coach Andrews there now, is that the organization, because I always felt like, and I told the coaches this, when you're conducting a meeting or you're doing drills or everything, you want your players to see it's important to you that you prepared for it.
That's good.
And you've got details. They got confidence in you then if you're doing that.
That's right.
And so just that idea about the organization of it. And it was funny, Kedrick, our great football player, Adam Troutman, who got drafted.
Yes.
Third round of the New Orleans Saints there, went in, was an All-American for us. And he goes and he's Sean, the head coach there.
Yeah.
His name's escaping me now.
I know it too. I can picture
Sean.
I got his face right in my
I do too.
My sight,
But anyways,
Sean Payton. There you go.
When Adam came back after the season, he said, "Coach, you're not going to believe this, but when I was with the Saints and what we did, and Coach Payton, how he talked and how he did everything, he says, I felt like I was at Dayton again." He said things were detailed and organized. He said, I felt so prepared in the way that things were doing. But Kedrick, successful programs, that's where it starts.
That's right.
It's organization, being organized. And then I tell you, the other big thing that I learned, be honest with your players. Tell them exactly how they are, what they are good at, what they need to improve. Again, don't blow smoke at them.
That's good.
And we tell our players, you be honest with us. Because honesty is the only way we're going to be able to get things done.
That's right.
And watching Mike Kelly and others that I got a close relationship, those were things that I really learned from them about being a head coach and being a head of a program there.
Yes. All those years, serving as an assistant in various, I'm sure you had from everything from cleaning to locker room to coaching a position. I'm sure in 46 years you did it all. Was there ever a moment along that journey where you thought, you know what, maybe I'm going to get out of coaching or maybe I'm going to try something, to do something that long? Was there ever a moment on life's journey where you almost weren't there, I guess is what I'm asking.
Kedrick, a lot of my coaching friends over the years, I was amazed. It was like they were always searching for that other job than what they were at.
Yeah.
Always kind of trying to find that next place that they thought was going to be better, or even that idea about getting out of coaching and so forth.
Yeah.
Kedrick, I can honestly say that never crossed my mind.
Wow.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was tough. I mean, especially losses, the tradition, you lose, or player issues you may have here and there. They're young people. They make mistakes.
Yeah.
It can wear on you, but I never got to that point where I don't want to do this anymore. And it wasn't until towards the end of my career, that last year or so, and it wasn't like, I hate going in.
Yeah.
It was just the grind at this point in my life. I just felt like, I don't know if I can give Dayton all that I need to do physically, mentally, emotionally to keep this program at the level that that we're accustomed to.
Yes.
That's the only time towards my end where I felt like, okay, I've done enough, move on to another phase of my life. Yeah. But those 40 some years that I coached, it went by so fast.
Man, I bet.
But I tell you, Kedrick, I was blessed being in a place like Dayton.
Yes.
Not just with the football program, but the university.
That's right.
The other people I got to connect with through the academic fields and other sports teams and students at Dayton. And we've had coaches come through Dayton. We've had players that have come through Dayton and then coached at other places. And they have told me they've never experienced the same type of culture, atmosphere, enjoyment that they've had at Dayton.
That's a beautiful thing.
And just real quick here about that, one of the best compliments I ever heard was from Joe Lombardi. He is the offensive coordinator right now at the Denver Broncos. He's Vince Lombardi's grandson.
Sure. And Adam's coach right now, correct?
What's that?
And Adam's coach right now as he's playing out
and there. His first coaching job was at the University of Dayton when he was at Wright Pat.
Okay.
He was an Air Force captain.
Okay.
But he wanted to get into coaching. Coach Kelly allowed him to be a part-time coach. After 2 years, he got out of the military. He wanted coaching to be a part of be his career. He stayed with us for 2 more years. Then he started on his coaching journey. And he was at major colleges. He was with the Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, the Denver Broncos, the Chargers, the Detroit Lions. But whenever we talk, Joe and I, we always keep in contact.
Sure.
He always tells me the best years he ever had as a coach was at the University of Dayton.
That's so cool.
What a compliment.
That's a huge compliment.
What a Super Bowl. Super Bowl with the New Orleans Saints.
And to think so fondly. I mean, because that's the culture that was built, to be a part of at UD. You said something in there, and I think, man, it's so, just for listeners to hear, some of my most admired guys that are in ministry today or retired are those that just slugged it out in the same place for many, many years, through the good, the bad, the ugly, and how God just did a work, through their perseverance and their sacrifice and their willingness to stay. And I've always appreciated that about you. And it's just that mindset of, I think it's especially in college football world, Division I, the portal and the whole deal, that idea of being where your feet are and being all in with that team or that organization or, hey, no, God's called me to this. That doesn't mean it's always going to be easy or it's always going to make the most money. I think there's something to be learned about really discerning, hey, am I just trying to climb a ladder for me, or is God moving me to do something new and to do something that's the next? And for your story, one of where he just kept saying, I want you here. I want you to stay put.
Yep.
And the other thing I caught in your story that is so huge is it's all about relationships. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody remembers, all the details of every single game that come along and all the moments, but it's the relationships with players and coaches. And for me, this church and the body of Christ and the families and the ones I've mourned with, through memorial services and the ones we've celebrated with new life and healing. But ministry and really life, I think Jesus summed it up that in Scripture, we're to love God, right? And we're to love others. And we get those two things right. Life seems to work out really well for us.
It does, Kedrick. Like you said, it just, when I tell young coaches, when they're looking or wanting to be a coach, I tell them, I said, do the best job you can where you're at. Opportunities, if they come, the right opportunities, you'll know it. You will. I had opportunities when I was a young coach. I was offered some head coaching jobs at other schools, high school, colleges, and it was not the right fit. Didn't have everything that I felt like I had at Dayton. And I remember R.C. Slocum, old-time Texas A&M coach for years. I heard him speaking one time, and he said The reason that grass is green on the other side of the fence is because there may be a septic tank underground there. So be careful what you think you want to get into.
True. And you will step right in it.
And that's certainly true. If you're happy where you're at, build upon that. And you're so right, Kedrick. The best part is over the long haul, those relationships. Right. Our players, they are so close after they leave here. They really are. They're teammates. And I love getting postcards of their family and Christmas cards and announcements and things. It's the relationships of where you're at.
That's
Make
special.
it the best place.
And that lasts forever. Those relationships are the thing that lasts forever. Coach, tell me, and I'm sure there's so many, but in 46 years, I think God shapes us the most when we're walking through really tough times, maybe dark times, maybe times where we don't even, what's on the other side of that door when we open it. Right. And did you have any, I don't know if you're willing, but just to share a story or two of maybe a moment where God really showed himself to you through a tough time and a trial in your time there at UD?
I tell you, one would be of a personal with my own family, with our youngest son, who was a student at the University of Dayton.
Okay.
And he got involved in an altercation, a fight. Alcohol was involved down in northern Kentucky. Okay. And it ended up him doing some jail time, doing a month in the county jail down there. You talking about a tough time as a parent. My son's not supposed to be in a jail. Right. He wasn't brought up like that, but he had to pay his consequences there. That was tough.
I bet.
It really was for my wife and I.
I can't imagine.
Go down and see him, and he was a sophomore in college when this happened. You don't know, okay, what's this going to lead to?
Right.
And
that's right.
And all those things, and we're so thankful that things worked out. Yes. Didn't have an effect on his life's work from that point on. It was good for him. Sure. I really do. I think it was something that
a wake-up call in a way.
A wake-up call.
Yeah.
It did something like that. Yeah. And I just say that is because fast forward a number of years later, when I'm the head coach, I was an assistant back then.
Sure.
I'm the head coach, and some of our players got into an altercation with a fraternity, that some fighting took place, and a person got injured. And there was a group of players, 3 or 4, that were the main culprits, and they were charged. Wow. And they were going to have to go through courts and just everything. And I tell you, Kedrick, I always felt like what I went through with our young son really was preparation for what I was going to encounter as a head coach with these players, because all at once you got these parents.
That's right.
And what they're feeling and what's next and everything. I could relate to them.
You had empathy for that. That's right.
I did. And I would relate my story to them. I would. And I really think that was something that helped me when I had to deal with this situation as a coach. And of course, I was calling upon God's grace and wisdom and everything in dealing with this situation as the head coach. But I really felt like that I was in a position to help the parents better get through it because I'd experienced it myself.
That's powerful. Paul, as he wrote to the church in Corinth, was talking about, hey, you're going to walk through the exact thing you just said. You're going to walk through moments, seasons of life that just seem like this is unbearable. Why me, and why would I go through it? Only to realize as God restores or he walks you through it, that you're going to be able to be a blessing to people. Comfort is the words he uses. Comfort those who are walking through that same thing. And that's a living testimony of what you just shared. Of that very thing.
I look back on that now, like I said, when you're going through it with our son, you're just, oh my, because it was just up and down and
Yes.
roller coaster, and this situation, that situation, as far as how was it going to end up.
Yes.
And, but then those years later, when I'm sitting there looking at a parent across from me and they're in tears and what's going to happen next and this and that.
Yes.
That was God's strength.
That's right.
It really was.
That's beautiful. Hey, I wanted to ask, I asked the same question to Coach Sargent. We live in a community, Dayton. Dayton loves its youth sports. You know, I would say we're a sports town, to be honest with you, from youngest to high school and beyond. And with that comes a whole lot of stuff. And it's not often that listeners get to hear from college coaches. And just to hear in the messiness of just youth sports and thinking everybody's going to be the greatest, next greatest person, what would be those character traits when you see an athlete, a young athlete, that you are looking for when it comes to be a part of your program? I know Clint shared the same thing, but then also it's kind of a twofold question. What do you tell parents that are just maybe a little overzealous,
Yes.
and as they walk this journey with their kids, what's some best practices for them as they love their kids through the seasons they're in?
Let me first of all go to that point,
Okay.
and then the characteristics. And the point to the parents is, let the children, or let your sons or daughters enjoy the sport that they want to do. Allow them to do as many sports as they want to do. Don't specialize. I really believe, and I know sometimes it's because of organizations and coaches and things that, hey, this is a year-round program and all that. I was a big believer, Kedrick, when we were recruiting a young man. I'd much rather go after a young man that was a football player, a wrestler, a baseball player, a track guy. He stayed competitive the whole year. He used athletic skills in different ways. He was developing those skills. And in addition to that, I loved him being in student government, being in theater, being in music. They're well-rounded.
That's right.
You can those young people can transition to the college much better, and they are able to handle multiple things better. I'm not saying that a person that just plays one sport can't, but I think those that are well-rounded, multi-sport, are better prepared. And I heard a stat. It's something like 90% of the NFL players were multi-sport athletes in high school. 90% of them.
Wow.
They didn't specialize. And so that would be that point. Parents,
Good.
Let them be involved in other things. It doesn't have to be live and die one thing, or live and die just sports. That can't be.
Yes.
Now, the characteristics of young people that was very big to us was the idea of, there's an acronym, GRIT. Grit. And I don't know if you've ever heard it or not. The letters standing for out of grit, we know what grit is, that toughness, that the determination, whatever. Well, we broke it down into G is for guts, being willing to stand up when nobody else will. Take that. Courage, that courage to do that. And the R is being resilient. And I think that's a big one.
That's
when
huge.
Kids can overcome the failures, because we're all going to fail. And then I is for being initiate. Go do it. Don't wait on others to do it for you.
Yeah.
And then T is tenacity. Just that way, that idea, that thinking that you're going to stay at it. You're going to stay at it there, no matter what comes.
That's right.
Those individuals, and I think the big one is resilient, because we're all going to fail.
That's right.
That young man that can overcome the way his body feels, or not having success one day in practice and everything, those are the guys that I feel like are going to be successful in college football. And I always add to it, the other R to me is reliable. You can count on them. They're going to do what they said. They're going to be accountable for whatever happens. You can bank on those people.
That's
there.
right.
And I think those characteristics, when we're talking to recruits, to young people, those are the things. You get a sense for people.
That's right.
With those kind of characteristics,
Yes.
and their experiences that they've had already, you get to expand. In our recruiting, Kedrick, we always would use the term, is he a UD guy?
I like
Is
that.
he an UD guy? Is he going to have those characteristics that he's going to be successful? And of course, we're not 100% correct all the time.
That's right.
But I'm telling you,
That's right.
the majority of the time, high percentage of the time, because we knew exactly who could fit in and who could be successful.
That's right.
At
And so not only on that side with the guy that's getting recruited for you guys, but there's an expectation as well that you're coming to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And as I hear you sharing that, that's not just to be a good football player. That's going to make good employees someday. That's going to make a great husband someday, a great dad someday, a great leader, a future coach, you name it. And those are great characteristics.
And that's what I mean, it's fun playing college sports. It is, but it comes to an end.
That's right.
Your sports career is going to come to an end. And so let's prepare them. Let's get them ready to go out and be a part of society and be a positive influence in society, as you said, Kedrick, and all these other areas that they can be.
That's right. That's so good. Coach, what do you find yourself doing with all your retirement days here lately? Are you keeping busy?
I am, because, and I mean, it's traditional to spend more times with your families and everything. The only problem is our family, one son lives in Austin, Texas with 5 grandkids, and one lives in Nashville with 1. And so we try to visit as much as we can. And I still hang around the football. I will go and watch practice. I go to all the home games. But I tell you, Kedrick, it is so much more enjoyable going to the Dayton football games now.
Is it?
I go up in the press box and watch up there and just enjoy it and not have to worry about situations and so forth.
That's right.
But you know, one of the biggest thrills that I'm having, and it's been ever since I retired, since the fall of 23.
Yeah.
I've been a substitute teacher at Centerville schools.
Have you really? I did not know that.
We live in Centerville now.
Okay. Where are you at in Centerville?
We live off of Clio.
Okay.
Just, what would that be?
Near Spring Valley, or?
Little further up, before Franklin Street there and everything.
Yeah, I know.
We moved into a condo.
Okay.
We lived in our house for 31 years down in Kedrick.
Yeah.
And so we found a nice place, great community called Tifton Greens, and we really enjoy it. So I'm not a golfer. I'm not going to go out and play golf 4 days a week. And I love young people.
Yeah.
I love engaging there. And that's what I miss from coaching. People ask me all the time, don't you miss it? What do you miss? And I don't miss the grind.
Yeah.
I don't miss the games. I miss the young people, interacting with them. They're so witty and funny and so forth. So I sub in middle school and the high school. Awesome. And I usually do that 2 or 3 times a week, maybe sometimes 4. I was at a middle school this morning. I was a math teacher this morning. And but I really enjoy that. In fact, Kedrick, after my first year at Centerville, I told you our son lives in Austin. He has 5 children in middle school and high school. I went down there at the start of the school year for 2 months, and I was a substitute teacher in their schools. And so I got to do that, plus watching 2 boys are playing football and the girls are playing volleyball.
Yeah.
And I never got to do that because I was coaching always in the fall.
That's right.
And that's how I'm spending my time. And one other thing, I get to do more in our church.
Awesome.
I get to do both within our community and within our church itself, leadership role, and and ministries within the Dayton community. So
that's huge.
I'm keeping busy.
I love it. You know what? I say it every single season is an absolute gift from God, and Ecclesiastes talks about all those seasons that we walk through in life, and they're all a gift from God. Every time we wake up and have breath in our lungs, it's an absolute gift from God.
It is, and we make the most of that day that
exactly
God has
right.
given to us.
That's right.
When I retired, I told people, they said, time flies when you're having fun. And I had a lot of fun at Dayton because I couldn't believe that many years.
46 years went by. Wow. Coach, thanks so much for getting on here today and sharing and just getting to hear a little bit more about your story and about the program and about your faith as well. And I was going to ask, we always close with a prayer on these. Would you be willing to close us in a prayer, and then you and I will say goodbye? I'm sure we'll run into each other one of these times coming soon. So if you're open to that, I'd love for you to close us in a prayer.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Our Heavenly Father, we are so thankful to be able to spend this time with Kedrick and be able to talk about the blessings of God in our life.
Yes.
Lord, we just know that you are always there with us, both through the bad and the good. We just thank you for that and the guidance and the support and the strength that you give to us. Yeah. We know, Lord, that there is a path for us to walk, and we just appreciate you being there to show us this and to be able to do whatever we can for the kingdom of God.
That's right.
We ask your blessing upon Kedrick here and his ministry at his church and this podcast, Lord. We know he is touching lives, and we know that they will be better for being connected and being a part of his ministry. Lord, just continue to be with us and help us to live the best life we can, and we will give you the glory and the honor in Jesus' name.
Amen. Coach, thanks so much. I've admired you for a long time, and to get to spend time with you again today, it's a true joy. And so hopefully you're now a Centerville Elk. I'll run into you or run you off the road, one of those two things down here in this area, but God bless you. I wouldn't
mind that.
God bless you, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thank you again, Kedrick.
You bet.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Stories We Share podcast. The Stories We Share is a ministry of Centerville Community Church and is recorded by our lead pastor, Kedrick Hershey. If you have a story that you would like to share, we would love to hear it. Please reach out to us at office@centervillecommunity.org. And be sure to follow us on all of our socials. You can find us pretty much anywhere at Centerville Community. And we'll see you next time on The Stories We Share.